Over those 16 years, 3,000 founders. Together, those founders have created about $120 billion in valuation. So 21 unicorns, 3 decacorns. There's a very high survival rate of those companies. And we have about 90 tenured Stanford professors that have started companies, about 146 companies that are valued over $100 million. But another way that we work with international students and founders is that we actually help governments and universities around the world try to create ecosystems like StartX. A lot of universities or governments around the world will look to us to help them, kind of use our 15 or 16 years to jumpstart their methodologies.
Over the last maybe 7 years or 8 years, there has been a somewhat of a withdrawal by US leading VC firms from the China market. China has a quite vibrant entrepreneurial ecosystem, startup ecosystem. And then we would very much like you to have some opportunity to visit China, maybe in the near future.
I believe the biggest consumer market will be here.
China will present a very important market for people, for founders in the US. So there is also a very great opportunity for the founders in the StartX community. Would very much like to introduce them to China if they are in any way interested. Shannon, it's such a pleasure to have you and maybe you can introduce yourself a bit, and then maybe also what you do at StartX, and what does StartX do, and how is it different from other accelerators like Y Combinators that people in China know a bit more about?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me on. I'm thrilled to be here. My name is Shannon McClenaghan. I'm the CEO of StartX. We're the premier founder community for Stanford alumni, professor, and students. As an accelerator and a community, we don't take any fees or charge. Our mission is solely based on helping founders succeed. And for the founders that are part of StartX, it becomes a lifelong community. We've been around for about 15 years, and our community is just vetted founders, contributors that really lie at the heart of Stanford and Silicon Valley ecosystem the way no others and no others do. And so excited to be here. Let me tell you a little bit about StartX and maybe why it's what it is and how it's different from other accelerators that may be familiar. So there are a lot of organizations that use the word accelerator. We've been around about 16 years. We started in 2010 on campus by founder students who were looking to create a community for themselves. There are a lot of founders that come out of Stanford in the technology space and in the startup space. And I think YC is very legendary as a factory model, if you will. And I think founders go into YC, it's very intent. YC takes 7% of the company, and on graduate demo day, you go out and you try and raise money. And StartX is really the opposite of that. We're not a factory. We're very much a founder-first community. Our offices are in the Stanford Research Park, next to Stanford University, and we operate as a nonprofit. And our whole mission is to help founders succeed. It's an organization and community that's really focused around giving back to others as they have received from other founders and investors and supporters, and it's really creating a flywheel that really is just founders helping founders.
I understand you have a very special relationship with Stanford. Can you describe that special relationship?
Well, the special relationship started because we were founded on campus by students, and we're originally part of something called SSE Labs, Stanford Student Enterprises. We spun out from that in 2011.
And how many startups and founders have gone through your program over the last 15 years?
So far, we've had over 3,000 founders that are part of our community. We're pretty selective, and it's competitive to get into StartX. But over those 16 years, 3,000 founders. Together, those founders have created about $120 billion in valuation. That includes companies that have been founded by those founders that are very successful. 21 unicorns, 3 decacorns. There's a very high survival rate of those companies, and we have about 90 tenured Stanford professors have started companies, about 146 companies that are valued over $100 million, and a lot of those founders go on to raise successfully from a lot of Silicon Valley VCs to grow their business. Our founders are now all over the globe, so you've probably heard of a lot of the companies like Lime scooters. If you've ever used a Lime scooter to get around in your city, that's a StartX alum. There are so a lot of other companies like Patreon, which some of the Patreon, which is a payments company, or the NFT platform OpenSea. Those are both StartX alumni. Some of the other companies include Life 360, which is protecting millions of families. And then there's a lot on the way. Out of those 3,000 founders, there's about 1,400 companies that have been started.
How would you describe your success rate as stacking up to with other prominent accelerators in Silicon Valley?
Our success rate, and that is a very good question, is phenomenal. So I think because of our model, I think I should talk a little bit about what success means to StartX. So what we saw was this opportunity early on to understand what makes founders successful. And obviously founders oftentimes need capital, but there's a lot of other things they need. They need mentors, they need resources. They need a peer community where they can support each other. So that's what we set out to do. And the way that StartX really evaluates founders is based on the potential of that founder and what they're building. And do they really have the passion and the capability to go ahead and build the thing? We're not actually looking at the commercial outcome of what the market potential of that company is. So it gives us a lot of freedom to evaluate Stanford founders that maybe that can do something that's world changing that still may not have a commercially either large market or a high financial outcome. So we're able to look at those founders and say, let's help founders build an ecosystem for founders that are going to go change the world. So that can be companies that are in the, again, decacorns or billions of dollar companies, but it can also be founders that are solving a really important problem that may not have a large commercial application. So the way we look at how we measure success, we're really looking about impact. So the impact of these founders and the companies they have on the world. So that could be providing solutions, it could be job creation. It really functions along, all the pillars that we think about of impact. People really love contributing to StartX because they love supporting founders. And I think a lot of that comes from, for people that have been a founder, it's very difficult to build a company. And it really takes this level of grit and determination that is at times very rewarding, at times very hard. And so there's a lot of people around Silicon Valley that really want to help founders succeed. And they do it in multiple ways, but one of the ways they do it is supporting StartX, and that can not only be monetary contributions, but all of the way that we deliver value is helping to create these founder ecosystems and networks for the founders so that they can help each other. And all of the people that contribute to do that are volunteers. So it's a lot of founders that are giving back not only contributions, but time, effort, money. They're sharing their lessons learned. And that's the real power of, I think, StartX in Silicon Valley is this desire to help and to really push the next generation of, or not even the next generation, any founder to deliver innovation and to succeed.
That's great. And so maybe in particular, how do you help StartX help founders?
Our accelerator program is really the way into the community. And so it's competitive to get in. It's a 10-week kind of immersive program into StartX. And what StartX does is we bring all the resources to bear of Silicon Valley to help these founders. And that means we onboard them. We pair them with mentors in the community, and that's a very intentional pairing. So we really try to understand what a founder needs at that time. And to match them with someone or a group of folks that can really help them. And it's important to know that we are stage agnostic and industry agnostic. So you can have just an idea and be very early and apply to StartX and get in, or we have a lot of multiple time founders, serial founders that are on their second or third companies that want to be part of the community. And because we don't take equity, it really enables them to join. So the resources that we're bringing to bear for those founders are very bespoke. So you could be a medtech or a biotech company and be, let's say, in some regulatory hurdle, and we'll find a mentor or a group of mentors who can help you with exactly that stage. Another founder may be, at the very early stages of launching their consumer product, and we'll bring a different set of mentors for them. So it's really based on what that founder needs. We are reaching out to people that have some type of specialized skill. They're generally all founders, so they have been a founder in the particular industry that you are working, and have probably already accomplished what you are working on. So the idea of founders helping founders is you want to be able to lean on people that have been there and done that. And then as part of, beyond pairing you with mentors, we also bring expert resources to bear. So that gets into more of the ecosystem. That could be lawyers, it could be banking partners, it could be investors, it could be marketing experts. We also make that network. Those are all vetted advisors that are available to StartX founders. We have lots of events that are tailored to what founders might need. So we're listening to the founders in our community or in the session, and they're asking or telling us what stage they're at, what they're looking for, and we'll find some synthesis of those and bring together, again, the resources. We will go out and find those resources in Silicon Valley if we don't have them. And that is very easy when you have 15 years of track record and 3,000 founders and over 750 vetted mentors. And those companies have created $120 billion worth of valuation.
Since you are right in the middle of Silicon Valley and close to Stanford, maybe you can give our audience in China what you see as the technology leading edges, be it artificial intelligence, be it healthcare or new energy, whatever. Maybe give us your view, maybe based on what you see in the coming classes or groups of applicants.
Yeah, absolutely. And most of this does not come from a place of me knowing it, but really coming from the place of our founders and what we're seeing. I'll start out by talking about how we do organize our founders or sort of self-organize, and we do have a couple verticals that we focus on. So I'll call that out first. And this just means that there's a lot of founders in the community that are working in a particular vertical. And those verticals right now tend to be biomed, robotics and frontier tech, fintech, AI, which is splintering across, foundational models, apps, infrastructure, and then of course energy, sustainability. Those tend to be the main ones now, but consumer, B2B, are always in the background. But there's a lot of founders that are working on those types of things. What we see, over the last few years, because we're associated with Stanford and because we have a lot of young founders that are just coming out of Stanford, I think we see a lot of things very early, before, the general public, or even, I think a lot of people understand what's happening in the markets. We start to see trends. So AI started to be a trend about probably 7 or 8 years ago. We started to see a big uptake. They existed before, but that's when we started to see a lot of companies. Now things are moving, definitely from general chatbot LLM to much more, using AI to solve very complex problems. We see a lot of that, whether it's standalone or in the physical world. So certainly the physical AI is a major space where we're seeing a lot happening, and obviously there's probably a lot happening in China as well. In biotech, I think in health and biotech, there is so much that AI can bring to the market, and we are really seeing that in whether it's discovering things that have never been discovered or solving problems that have never been solved. There's just a ton of opportunity. There's still some things that are a little overhyped, but those areas you definitely see a lot right now.
You just mentioned that there are areas that might be overhyped right now. You can give us maybe one or two examples of the areas that are underappreciated right now, which people should be paying more attention, as well as areas that may be a bit overhyped.
Well, I think the general, AI chatbots or AI wrappers is definitely in the past now. I think the things that are probably underappreciated that are happening, there's so much happening in the biomed space. It's mind-boggling to understand. For those of us who are not in that space, it's insane because you couple what's happening in AI with what's starting to happen with compute and the scientists. Just the hard science problems that compute can solve is starting to unlock so much, and I think that
for people who are not necessarily in the field, it's something like AlphaFold, and what that direction can bring about.
It's like understanding, solving cancer with getting a pinprick of blood, or being able to, solve problems that took thousands of hours mathematically to solve in nanoseconds. It's discovering new materials or being able to create new materials or live on other planets. I mean, that is the stuff that's happening. The planets is definitely I think everyone's aware of that right now, going into space because of our well-regarded and dear founder Elon Musk has made that extremely popular.
Who had about 3 months at Stanford?
Yes, he is a Stanford alum. Stanford has obviously, created or helped create a lot of founders. Or I should say maybe Stanford attracts a lot of people that want to be founders. It's a very special place. I think probably the other things that are very interesting is just understanding, I think, humans better, whether that's from a neuro standpoint or, trying to really understand how we operate, how life works. I think that from a hard science standpoint is just really incredible. And that is, we're just on the tip of all of that. And I think the next 10 years, we will see things in our lifetime that we couldn't even imagine happening. Even a couple of years ago. So pretty excited about that. And I think the world is starting to see that. It's all very exciting.
You mentioned also that the program StartX is also open to international founders, and you mentioned Line, and maybe you can describe what StartX does for or can do for international founders.
There's two different ways that we work with international founders. I mean, Stanford itself and Silicon Valley is an international place. So, you've been here. It is a melting pot of the world. So, to start out with, we are just very international to begin with. And then in terms of other international programs, there's a lot of folks that will come to Stanford and then apply to StartX. There are other non-StartX founders that can apply to StartX. They have to have recommendations from StartX founders and really help build the ecosystem around Silicon Valley and Stanford. So it's a very high bar to get in if you're not a Stanford founder. But another way that we work with international students and founders is that we actually help governments and universities around the world try to create ecosystems like StartX. So because we're a nonprofit and we sit in this place where we're really, really trying to build an ecosystem that really supports innovation and can be self-sustaining in a flywheel, a lot of universities or governments around the world will look to us to help them, kind of use our 15 or 16 years to jumpstart their methodologies. So right now we have 4 of those partnerships around the globe with about several others under discussion, and those have proved really successful. So that's about bringing international founders, bringing what we've learned to create those ecosystems to that local ecosystem, but also then bringing those founders to Silicon Valley to do some kind of immersive program and get them, really kind of marinating in in what StartX has to offer, but what the vibe is in Silicon Valley and how Silicon Valley operates, which is, I think, pretty different from the rest of the world. We're very, very much, I don't want to say move fast and break things, because we also move fast and solve things, but it's a very collaborative environment, and really, I think people are very focused on innovation here. It's unique in that people in Silicon Valley definitely understand the desire and what it takes to do that, so they're willing to help each other. And it's just a really unique place. So you want that to, from an innovation standpoint, you want that to spread around the world, to make every place like Silicon Valley, where everyone's striving to be better and create, amazing solutions to problems that exist today.
There is much talk about Silicon Valley, the US, maybe sometimes people also throw in China as well, as a somewhat uniquely innovative at this juncture in terms of technology progress, innovation, because obviously over the history, places like Middle East, places like East Asia, places like Europe have been enormously creative and innovative. But at right this juncture, at least there is some quite widespread sentiment or discussion that some places in the world, which were previously very innovative, have become less so, right? Do you have any observations, maybe the reasons, or what Silicon Valley has and maybe those places do not have?
Again, going back to Silicon Valley, is a very international, open place. So, it is a meritocracy in that people can come here and be successful as long as they, understand what they want to do, they understand their market, and they're really willing to go do what it takes. And I think that in, all of history, there's been lots of places in the globe where that has happened at moments of time, and right now it happens to be in Silicon Valley. So I think those places rise and fall, but as we progressed and become a more global, world, I think that it's easier for people to travel. It's easier for people to gather around the globe in places where innovation, is happening, and innovation starts to happen everywhere. So I think you're starting to see people be able to pick up and go do something somewhere else, whether it's a town away or a village away or a city away or a country away. And so they start to self-organize a little bit. And yeah, I think that comes from probably a place of necessity. Necessity is the mother of invention. So if you put all the seeds together, it starts, and then you create this flywheel. And Silicon Valley has done an amazing job, but there's a lot of other places that are really starting to see what's happened in Silicon Valley and try to really grow that in their own ecosystem. And I think you're going to see more and more of that. There's founders everywhere. There's entrepreneurs everywhere.
Right.
I thought I can chime in here. So I was just thinking about when I mentioned what's special about Silicon Valley versus the rest. I'm based out of Shanghai, but I've been in Singapore most of my life. I'm glad to lead the chapter at StartX for both Singapore and China. When I went through the StartX program, my company is a part of the 2024 batch, and at that very time in 2024, I had meetings with VCs from across 3 different regions, and I noticed that in Silicon Valley, I think the ecosystem manages to support this power of law concept for VCs, whereas for Asia, when I say Asia in general, they are moving towards being micro PEs. For example, in the Silicon Valley VCs, they are looking for 1 or 2 outliers to
home runs.
The home runs to make the fund, but whereas for the Asian PEs, they're looking for minimal risk and looking at maybe 5 to 8x for every. So I thought it's partially because of the environment. That's one. So that's the first part. Then the second part I noticed is that Silicon Valley, people are adopting fast. So back when I was a student, like for example, when DoorDash first started, every app was taking on like wildfire. Everybody becomes a customer quickly. Whereas in
people are more willing to start and try new things, and they are
Correct.
more curious.
So they are like really the top leaders. Silicon Valley is really a place of thought leaders. But of course, that culture of adopting things quickly has started to spread across the world. But I believe Silicon Valley is still the forefront of that.
Well, I think what goes hand in hand with that is this willingness this willingness and sort of embracing failure almost.
Yes.
Failure is a badge of honor here in Silicon Valley, and I think that is starting to spread because what we've learned is you've got to try again until you get it right. And sometimes that takes one, sometimes it takes 1,000 times. And Silicon Valley has really embraced that in a way that I think other areas have not. But I think if you just look to people in their 20s or even their 30s, their willingness to try something new around the globe is massive, and you can see that shift happening everywhere. That makes me feel good. People are really opening up to anything. They're not just relying on the way things used to be done. They are very much embracing there's a better way to do things.
And you mentioned that you've been trying to introduce the StartX program to a number of other regions. Maybe can you mention one or two that's been already done, and then maybe share some insight based on the particular cultural or commercial background of that region, and then how you try to tailor the StartX program to the people's strength and maybe a bit weakness in that particular region.
A great example is we're working with JETRO in Japan, which is the Japanese External Trade Organization, and Japan has identified as a country that it really wants to create innovation in a way that maybe it had in the past, but hasn't of late. It's been more insular. So it's really trying to take all the strengths of Japan, but make it a much more global player, both in innovation from an export and an import standpoint. And so what JETRO is, what we've been working with them, we've done 2 or 3 programs. The last one was focused solely on AI. And what they're trying to do is really get their founders to have a global point of view. So they're not only focused on selling or innovating in Japan, but they're really looking at the global market. And one of the ways we do that is really to help them integrate with global founders from all over. And so they start to build those networks and those ties. And one of the things culturally, again, going back to cultural norms, in some places failure or speaking out or doing something new has not been the way things have been done. And so I think Japan is a great example where they're really trying to change that and have people take high degrees of risk and to create innovation. We run a program for them, and it's been fantastic to see those founders come integrate with founders that are from China or from India or from the US, and they spend this time together and they build bonds of trust, and then they go back to their own wherever they're based, whether it's their own country or some other country, and all of a sudden they've got these global contacts with founders. And I think that you're starting to see this whole generation of people in the entire world think that they can do things differently than have been done in the past, and I think that's magical.
How do you introduce a founder in Japan to a founder from India, a founder from China, or a founder in Silicon Valley? How does that work?
Yeah, well, so they all come here. So all the founders end up in Silicon Valley for some period of time. So one of the things that we focus on is something that we call neighborhoods, colloquial neighborhoods, and that's about bringing founders together, usually at the same stage or in a similar industry, and putting them together in a room on a recurring basis. So that can be people from anywhere, but they're all working on the same thing. And the idea is you take all the consultants or the other people away, and you get those founders to talk to each other about the problems or the challenges that they're facing and really try to help each other. And what we're trying to do is get founders to help each other And so when they start doing that, they build trust. And that's the foundation really of being able to, I think, do anything, right? With anybody is having that level of trust. And so whoever those people are in the room, wherever they're from, they're focused not on that. They're focused on the problem or the challenge that they're having in their business. And that starts to build bridges to where they now have relationships with people around the globe. And then Stanford's such a unique, and Silicon Valley is such a unique place that you'll see StartX founders, maybe 50% are global because they've come here and they've left. So as you know, we have a lot of founders in China, in Japan, and India, and the Middle East, Europe. They're everywhere. You can find a StartX founder almost anywhere.
Maybe on that point, maybe Ethan, you can share with us your experience with StartX and why you chose to join StartX and what you have received. What was your experience and what you have benefited from StartX?
So personally, I chose StartX because one, because I believe that StartX as a community is more supportive of us. I was recommended by several classmates who went through StartX, Stanford classmates who went through StartX.
Oh, sorry, just set the background for people in our audience. You were born in Singapore and grew up and had an undergraduate education in Singapore, I understand?
Yes, correct. So I grew up in Singapore. My first degree was at NUS, National University of Singapore. Then I went to Stanford for a sabbatical, did the Graduate School of Business degree. Then I have two classmates that actually went through StartX, and one of them sold his company to a PE. I believe it's in the hundreds of millions range. He didn't tell me, but I think he's very happy now. Then I have another classmate who is in India, who is also part of StartX. So so I asked them what was StartX like before I applied, and they were telling me, oh, it's a great community, you can ask anybody anything. So when I first entered StartX, it's like entering a science fiction novel. You know? Everyone's working on something that's, what? It's like, whoa, it blows your mind, that kind of thing. One of the key things is that when I was there with the fellow founders of my cohort, was that the support is there. For example, let's say when I was fundraising, we found that founders' introduction is better than any other introduction, meaning LP's introduction doesn't work. Let me see. I led a few high net worth investors into a few VC funds. It doesn't seem to matter as much as a founder introducing me to a VC fund. That's one. Then two, then we have literally talks on what they are doing, what are the problems that they are facing. And of course, I help companies enter China while also helping companies from China go outside. Literally, from on the ground, I do hear many founders are interested in entering the Chinese market. Literally, very contrary to the very high level newspaper media. When I was there, many people were saying, well, because not many VCs in the Valley believe in what they are doing, even though they are a life science person. If they can find a Chinese backer, they will come here and set up something. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's if I can find a Chinese backer for them. Because StartX is literally like, I think Stanford has this famous term called drinking through a fire hose. StartX is literally forcing us to drink through a fire hose all the time, meaning it's a lot of information.
Ethan just mentioned that a lot of founders in your cohort were interested or are interested in the China market, and that it just leads me to this question. Over the last maybe 7 years or 8 years, there has been somewhat of a withdrawal by US leading VC firms from the China market, sometimes because of commercial concerns, sometimes mostly maybe out of legal or political concerns, and there are quite a few very prominent examples of that. And maybe Shannon, you can share us with your view as to the China market, how you see it, and how you see the opportunities presented, maybe available in the China market.
There are a lot of views on what's happened with the U.S. and China in the last 7 years, and I think there is no one Silicon Valley view. There is no one anything view. You know, you'll see that lots of influential people have very, very different concerns, or very different opportunities that they see. I think that as a founder, I think what founders see is the world is a big place and there are markets everywhere and they all have unique opportunities to solve solutions. And so founders will tend to be less border specific and very much focused on solving whatever the problem is that they want to solve. For VCs, they can go anywhere. One thing I want to talk about, or one thing I want to mention about VCs and the change that we've probably seen over the last 7, 10, 12 years is that VC used to be a very small industry. You know, you came to Silicon Valley, you drove up Sand Hill Road, you met with VCs. Everyone is a VC now. Everyone's an investor. So investors are everywhere. They're no longer just on Sand Hill Road, and they're no longer just on, in Silicon Valley. And I think that has opened up a lot of possibilities, no matter where you are on the globe. Is that there is investment available for interesting innovation. And it's not necessarily limited to a geographical space anymore. And I think that's really great for founders, because founders are also all over the globe. Jensen Huang or someone else talking about the interdependence between the US and China. And, founders and entrepreneurs see things, only through their lens. And it's not necessarily the lens of a politician, international relations person. They're looking at it from, how can my business succeed, and how can I find a customer base that needs what I want to give them, and I think that's a very optimistic and great view. No matter what's happening in the geopolitical landscape, as founders are out there solving the challenges of the world, and I think they will succeed regardless.
At least from my viewpoint, and as you may know, China has a quite vibrant entrepreneurial ecosystem, startup ecosystem. And then we would very much like you to have some opportunity to visit China, maybe in the near future. Another well-known US VC investor who is also a former podcaster, maybe, Bill Gurley, had a quite well-known tour of China, maybe last summer. Maybe you can do something like that this summer. See if we can set something up.
We would love to come to China. The capabilities in China, I've spent a lot of time on factory floors in Shanghai, Hong Kong, and all over China. So it's a very vibrant place full of very talented people, and there's a lot going on that is very positive, I think, for the world.
And for example, there's the World Artificial Intelligence Conference in July. So maybe I can interest you to join that. Maybe another thing is I understand you are from a consumer product background, and you did a lot of work in that field. And China obviously has this very vibrant supply chain ecosystem in consumer products, including consumer electronics products. That's which are very important for robotics as well. So maybe that's another area I can interest you in.
My impression of China is that I believe the biggest consumer market will be here. Literally, if any company wants to do B2C, this is the place to be.
I agree with you very much that China is going to be one of the largest consumer market in the world, maybe even the largest. China will present a very important market for people, for founders in the US. So there is also a very great opportunity for the founders in the StartX community. I would very much like to introduce them to China if they are in any way interested. Maybe Shannon can also help build some bridge in that regard. And you just do see a big pool of founders coming up every year. So it's a very exciting field, and I would very much like to invite StartX to come into China, and also and Shannon to come to China more often, and we can show you around and introduce you to people and to good companies that you can get to know better.
That's fantastic. I think you're right. The founders of the world are making us very optimistic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time, and thank you for inviting StartX to participate. We're very happy for those founders that are interested. We're obviously always looking for great founders to join the StartX network, and applications are open right now. So if you're a Stanford founder or alum and looking to join StartX, please apply. You can just go to startx.com and you'll see the application button. We'd love to have more founders apply. Thank you so much.
And also, if you are a great founder, you have a great idea, we can even help you get in touch with StartX founders or alumni. If you have 6 StartX alumni, we can also get you into the program.
You can talk to Ifan. You have your Stanford Entrepreneurs and Angels Club in China. There's Stanford everywhere and founders everywhere. So happy to help.